framework for assessment and instruction. This is adopted by the state of California. It is in this California the Language Arts Framework. It was written by John Scheffelbein from California State University. What this is it talks about, I can't reach that high, everything starts with motivation, and we just heard it. Being motivated is the beginning. If you're not motivated to read, none of what I talked to you about is going to happen. And no kid, I've never met a kid come into kindergarten and say, the one thing I don't want to learn this year is how to read. That's not what they tell you. So motivation, so for success, for pleasure, the relevance, purpose. So we have to have, kids need motivation, adults need motivation to do something. Then what we look at is we have two sides of the framework. We have this framework over here that's really word recognition and spelling. This is phonics. This right here, this side of your framework is about phonics, learning how to read. This side of the framework is comprehension. Comprehension is what we do with the things that we have read. So in kindergarten, this section of our framework is oral. Towards the end of kindergarten, as they're reading some more things, we begin to have them become more responsible for reading some things and being able to answer questions. But in kindergarten, when we think about this part of the framework, we're doing oral work with them. We're reading to them. They are answering questions. So you think about what do you know, your background knowledge, what you know about something, completely changes how you understand it. I do not understand the tax code because I have never studied. I'm really not motivated unless it's going to cost me money, but I also don't have background. So I can't read what an accountant can read and have the same level of comprehension. Vocabulary is a huge discriminator. If you don't have the vocabulary in what you're reading, you're losing a lot of meaning. So we think about learning and teaching vocabulary. Syntax and text structure, how things are written, that matters to how we understand. Comprehension monitoring is knowing when you don't know and you know what to do about it. So I didn't understand this. I could go back and reread. Oh, there's a cause and effect relationship here. I could use cause and effect. Oh, this is a sequencing piece. I can use sequence to help me understand. So those are all things we teach orally to students in kindergarten so that when they have the words, then they can transfer it. And then we have organizing and reorganizing text. So how do I look at and put text in a place where I understand it? This is huge with the Common Core standards. They have moved away from can you use text to answer a question, but can you use text to understand and integrate with the world? And that's a huge thing. It's a big shift. We no longer say, what color was her dress? Blue, green, red, yellow, right? We bubble in the color of her dress and say, oh my gosh, you can comprehend. We look at how we get deeply into the text. This is oral. We're not talking about this tonight. Okay, if you want to talk about this, I'll meet you another time, we'll talk about this. We're talking about this section of the framework tonight. Word recognition and spelling, and fluency. So the very beginning of word recognition is print concepts. On your next page, there's some more information about the print concepts level. It's on the top of the yellow page. So print concepts are, do you know the title, where the title is? Do you know how to open a book? Do you know that this is an upside down book? Do you know that this book is backwards? Do you understand that you open it up? Do you understand that you turn one page at a time? Do you know what a word is? Do you know what a letter is? Do you know what a sentence is? That's all print concepts. Print concepts are things we teach in pre-K and early kindergarten. That's all part of understanding. If you understand that letters make words, when we move into the next section over here at phonics, then you can put the letters together to make words. Phonological awareness is all about hearing. Are you able to hear sounds? Are you able to manipulate sounds? So if I were to say to you, say cat, sound cat, that's phonological awareness. You had no print, you used your ears, you did what we call segmentation of phonemes. Phonemes are segments of sound. Individual units of sound are called phonemes. Okay, so if I say, the word? You just did blending phonological awareness. You heard it, you put it together. Blending is easier than segmenting. If I said, say fan, drop, what's left? Phonological awareness, deletion. Even harder. Say man, change to ch. What's the word? Phonological awareness manipulation. So those are all using and hearing. When you know and understand and can put sounds together that way, then it's much easier to do it when the print is in front of you. So right now, we've started our reading lessons in our program called SIX, Systematic Instruction in Phonics, Phonemic Awareness, and Sight Words. Author of the program, John Scheffelbein and Kirkman. So we started at the very beginning of every lesson, phonological awareness. Right now, we're doing syllable blending. Teacher. What's the word?
Teacher.
That's what they're doing right now. They will get to 4 phoneme blending and 4 phoneme segmentation by the end of kindergarten. Okay? But that is a whole nother night. I'm not going to talk to you about the levels of phonological awareness. Next is phonics. Phonics is taking sounds and putting them together. Some people say phonics is evil and bad. No, phonics is not evil and bad. Phonics is, for some kids, the only way they're going to learn how to read. Phonics is A says ah, M says If I put ah and together, I get am. And that has meaning, and I can read it, and that's phonics. So we teach your students a systematic phonics instruction program. The next piece is sight words. We're going to talk a lot about sight words, but sight words are words that we don't have sounds for yet, or cannot be sounded out at all using the English phonics system. So in English, there are how many letters in the alphabet?
26.
26, good. How many sounds are there? I have
32.
higher than 32. 40? Just under 48. 46. Now some people say, well, or is really not a sound, so there's 45 and people, but yes. So if you think there's 26 letters that will make 46 sounds, tell that to a kid, right? They're like, I can't take it, I gotta go back to preschool, etc. So sight words there are words in the English language that you can say to your kids all day long, sound it out. And they're gonna sound it out, and they're gonna say it, and you're gonna say, what's wrong with you? I told you to sound, because your mind's saying the word is the, but your mind isn't thinking that TH says, or and E says E at the end of an open syllable, therefore they should be reading it as E, right? So they're gonna be confused, and you're gonna, I have stories, my own niece was crying. My sister-in-law called me, she said, John, I don't know what to do. She's crying, she hates reading, she doesn't want to go to school. The teacher told me to never sound out the words. I said, what are the words? I said, half those words are irregular words. She can't sound them out. No wonder she's crying. No wonder you're drinking. Because it can't happen, right? So I had to teach her a new way. So that's what we're going to teach you today. You have to be smarter than your child when you're reading with them so that you go, is that a sight word or a sound word? And we're going to teach you how to do that tonight. It's a good party game. So if you all have a party to go to this weekend, you can play this party game. It's like, let's get out flashcards and see. I do that with my friends. But I hang out with like your phonics people. So automaticity. Automaticity has 3 parts. Automaticity starts with what we call accuracy. Are you accurate? Can you say the sounds correctly and blend the words? Once you're accurate, then we want to know if you are automatic. Do you do it quickly? Okay? I don't care how fast you read. If any of you have a first grader right now, I did not say this, but I did. If your first grader cannot sound out the words, don't ask them to be fast. Because what is it they have to be able to do to be fast? Sound out the words. Okay, it's called the alphabetic principle. We want you to buy into the fact that I slowly read words sound by sound. Think about the last words you didn't know how to read. What did you do? Guess and move on? Probably not. What did you do? You tried to sound it out. You probably used syllabication because you're a grown-up, but you tried to sound it out. And if it was a word that you had in your vocabulary, you're like, oh, right, I know that word. So, accurate, then automatic, then prosodic or prosody. Do you sound like you read? When your kids first start reading to you, it is not going to sound like the lady at the library during story hour. And that's okay. It will sound like this. It will sound like this. And you're going to say, oh, Lordy, have mercy. But that's what they're doing. They're doing the right thing, okay? So, questions on the framework. It's all based on this, friends. All right, stage models. Non-stage model says reading's totally unpredictable, does not happen in any way. You just by happenstance, you get it or you don't. It's just a crapshoot. Throw stuff at the kid. If they get it, they get it, okay? Some of you may have heard the word whole language. Some of you may have heard non-stage. Some of you may say, I don't know what you're talking about. But non-stage models were really popular when I was in college. And what they are not is systematic. What they do not do is address I can't say what's wrong because I have no system. I'm just throwing things at you and I don't know if you're getting it or not. The stage model of reading development says that reading happens in predictable patterns over a sequence of events, and skilled and unskilled readers do the same thing. When you're a skilled reader and you don't know something, you revert to what an unskilled reader does. You slow down, you sound things out. That's what the stage model says. It happens in these predictable ways. The selective cue stage. You want to use context. Kids want to look at the pictures. And that's okay to begin with. Okay? Instruction develops the concepts of print, their phonemic awareness, their letter names and letter sounds. This is what we do at selective cue stage. But then at a point, we move you on. The next predictable stage is what we call spelling pattern stage. This is where we learn the patterns of English phonics. A says a as a closed syllable. TH together says, or voiced and unvoiced. Actually, voiced is unvoiced. So that's where we learn these predictable things. Students begin to understand the alphabetic principle. They buy into this concept that letters have sounds, sounds put together have words, words have meaning, and every time I see these sounds, unless they're irregular words, I can sound them out. This is where we have to get kids. We talk about they have to be glued to print. They have to pay so much attention. When we teach these lessons, I say to them, put your eyes, don't look at me, look at the board. I have no letters on me, look at the board. And they're like, well, you said to look at you when you're teaching. I'm like, not during reading, look at the board. Because they have to be glued to that print. Students have mastered blending and segmentation, but they keep learning vowel patterns. So what's going to happen in kindergarten is the first sound we learned is S. And the next sound we're going to learn is N. And then we're going to learn T. And then we're going to learn A. And oh my God, what happens when you learn A? You have a vowel, and now what can you make? Words. Oh. And then we do sat, sat. And they're like, I read. And then they do at, and then they read. And then one day we say, oh, this is E, it says A. And they're like, whoa, there's more of these? And then they get in kindergarten and they learn the 5 short vowels, and then they go to first grade and they learn what we call the vowel mess, which is A, Y says A. A, I says A. A blank E says A. A at the end of a syllable says A. Look at all the ways to say and spell A. Okay, that's spelling pattern stage. This is the grunting and groaning stage. This is what has been referred to as the grunting and groaning stage. Because they groan and grunt, not because they don't like it. They might do that, but that's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to the mat, okay? And they're working through it. The last is the automatic stage. Phonics continues to be the preferred strategy, so we want them to buy into using phonics, but the recognition of spelling patterns is quick and effortless, okay? So, for example, I hope you'll be able to see it. Read the word. Oh, come on, nice and loud. Read the word. Flat. Did you have to sit there and sound it out? No, because you recognize this. Effort and fluent and effortless. And that's what starts to happen to kids when they move to automatic. Now, as soon as we introduce something new, what happens? Slow down. So they're really good at act, they're really good at act, you know, right? And then all of a sudden we throw in SH. And what do they want to do as soon as they see the S at the beginning of the word? And then they say, oh, shh. Right, they have to slow down and come back around. So that's when we get to automatic. Questions on that? All right, where do we live in kindergarten?